Typically, we are harder on others than ourselves when it comes to bad habits. They can be annoyances like someone who starts cracking their knuckles right next to you, or a friend of yours who you love very much but who constantly drops the word like into like every other sentence. Hey, but you've got one too. Everyone has at least one bad habit that they can't shake. Or can they? Welcome to Wellcast. This week, we took another viewer suggestion from Frantic Cow, who wrote in asking for a video on breaking bad habits. So today, you guessed it, we're going to examine why it's so darn difficult to give up chowing down on junk food or chowing down on your fingernails. We've also got a 4-step method for overcoming your biggest vice. Are you ready? First and foremost, how do bad habits even form? Studies by the National Institute of Health point to 2 main reasons. The first reason is repetition. If you do something often enough, say you twirl your pencil during class, your brain decides it can stop wasting precious neurons thinking about it. So it checks out and goes on vacation. You could be twirling your pencil through AP English, social studies, algebra, and trig without even thinking about it. The other way bad habits are formed is through positive reinforcement, which sounds like a really good thing, but it can be dangerous. Let's talk about that energy drink that you insist on sucking back when you're up late studying. Gives you a nice boost of energy, and it helps you get through to the end of that mind-numbingly boring paper you're writing on Chaucer. But the reason why this kind of habit is hard to break is that a nice surge of energy at 11 p.m. is an enjoyable feeling. And enjoyable feelings usually result in your brain releasing dopamine. This is partly why people often crave things that aren't even enjoyable for them anymore. The brain is jonesing for dopamine. But don't worry, my habitual compadres. Human beings are pretty amazing at changing and adapting. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to obliterate that bad habit in 4 easy steps. Pause and print this sheet at watchwellcast.com. Step 1. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Write down the bad habit you're trying to quit. Start simple. Choose just one. Step 2. Learn to avoid your triggers. Take some time to think about the things that really make you crave doing your bad habit. If biting your nails is your vice, your triggers might be, that last-minute quiz. Oh no, I gotta pay my electric bill, or how much money do I have in my account for rent? List these triggers in section 2 of your worksheet. Next to these triggers, write a list of ways you can avoid them. For example, read your syllabus every week, or make sure that you plan for automatic deductions for your electric bill. Step 3, substitute your bad habits for not-so-bad habits. Basically, you want to teach your brain by repetition to learn a new habit. So, if you tend to bite your nails when you're stressed and alone in your living room, stock your refrigerator with carrots and celery so that you can reach for something else to chew on when you're stressed out. Write a substitution next to every trigger on section 3 of your worksheet. Step 4. Gather your army. You do not have to do this alone. Enlist your friends to help you defeat this bad habit. Start by telling them that you're planning on eliminating this bad habit, and you need their help. Just the simple act of letting them in on this battle that you're waging is a step in the right direction. Remember, your friends can be bodyguards. They'll stand between you and your brain. Tell them to police you. If they see you reaching for those nails to bite, give them the permission to remind you of your mission, or even slap your hand, whatever you want. All right, guys, let's recap. Today, you learned 4 steps for beating your bad habit. You decided which habit you wanted to kick. You figured out your triggers for this bad habit, and you decided on ways to avoid and replace these triggers with healthier alternatives. If all else fails, you learn to enlist your friends in the fight.
Tweet us at WatchWellcast, email us at watchwellcast@gmail.com, or leave a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 30. Man, this summer is really flying by. Here we are with you on Free Speech TV this Wednesday morning and on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. President Obama starts the day out in Kansas City, Missouri, where he spent the night last night after going out for a barbecue dinner with some people who had written him letters from Kansas City. Today, he'll give a speech at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City, speech on the economy before he heads back here to Washington, D.C., where he may find some progress on getting a compromise solution to solving problems at the Veterans Administration, but not much progress on the immigration front. Republicans, afraid to leave town without doing anything at all, seem to want to put forward a bill that would spend only $600 million on the border, where the president says $3.7 billion is necessary to take care of these children at the border. The Senate Democrats have already said they don't want anything to do with that little kind of cheap Republican plan. Only a day and a half left before Congress leaves, and they don't have much time to fix it. The impeachment wars are rocking this Capitol, with Republicans accusing Democrats of stirring up impeachment only to raise money. Democrats point out it's Republican senators, and Republican members of the House, not to mention a former Republican vice presidential candidate, who are the ones talking about impeachment and won't stop. And meanwhile, the leaders of the European Union and the United States yesterday both slapped new sanctions on Russia to try to bring Vladimir Putin to his senses and pull his troops out of East Ukraine. All of that coming up. Give us a call. Talk about it all with us at 866-55-PRESS. Welcome on board.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You know, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple, and they add up, and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you know, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that would be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues, and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. You know, and like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, down to a day and a half left for Congress to get anything done. The clock is ticking. Hell, they don't care. They always go home without doing what they're supposed to do. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. It is Wednesday, July 30. Man, I don't know about you, but I think this summer is just flying by.
Right?
It was just yesterday we said it was first day of July. Yeah. Get ready for July 4 weekend, and here we are already now at the end of the month. Well, we got one more day after today, but we're getting there. Wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours, it's good to see you on this Wednesday, July 30. How about it? We are here in our nation's capital. We're going to tell you what's going on today, bring you up to date on what's happening at the White House, what's happening on Capitol Hill. That's where we're located, right on the hill with our studio. We'll take a quick look around the country and around the world, tell you all about it, and want to hear from you what it all means to you. You know the toll-free number. It's 866-55-PRESS. They're with you on your local progressive talk radio station today. They're with you on the TuneIn app. If you don't have a progressive radio station where you are, no problem, no problemo. Download TuneIn, and it's free. And then go to the Progressive Voices channel, and there we are. As we are on Free Speech TV with you, if you got a satellite dish, DirecTV, and on our worldwide video stream. A lot of people from Estonia yesterday.
What's up with that?
I don't know, but, we love Estonia.
Oh, of course,
it's one of my favorite countries.
Shout out to Estonia.
Shout out to Estonia. Thank you for joining us. And you, no matter where you happen to be, from Nigeria to Estonia, you can join us on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hey, good morning.
Everything good?
Yes, indeed.
It was chilly out this morning.
You know what? It was a little bit.
56 degrees.
Yeah. That's why I have a long sleeve shirt on today. I thought, got a little chilly walking over in the short sleeve shirt yesterday.
For the record, yesterday it was not quite this chilly, but it was chillier than it should be for the end of July.
Yeah.
And people out there talking about, it's sweater weather. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Dream
sweater weather.
It's not sweater weather.
Chill out.
Yeah.
Slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah, right.
It's colder than usual, but it ain't sweater weather.
Thank God, by the way. Alicia Cruz is here on the phones. Your call's welcome again at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding rounding out the team with with our video cameras working and the lights on and the cameras on, and thanks to Cyprian. Did you see? It's just about this time yesterday morning. I saw on the monitors the cable channels were showing this whaling boat coming back into Boston Harbor. Mm-hmm. So it's one of these little, not a cruise ship, but a whaling boat where they take people out to see the whales. It's usually about a 2-hour, maybe a round trip or something like that. I mean, they go on the West Coast, the East Coast.
A 3-hour tour.
This was an 8-hour tour. It went out and got caught in lobster traps. The lobster traps, or the lines from the lobster traps, wrapped around its propeller, and it couldn't move. So these people, and they had to actually spend the night on the whaleboat. I mean, there are no facilities for that. I don't know how they had maybe enough food. They must have slept on the floor or on the seats or whatever. It was hell. And they came back in so early yesterday morning. It was hell for everybody except this one 8-year-old. He thought it was the coolest thing that ever happened to him.
I liked it.
Why did you like it?
Because we were out on a boat and we were stuck out there and we had to sleep overnight and we got to see divers go down.
So you thought it was fun?
Yes.
How old are you?
8.
That's perspective, man.
Exactly.
That is right. Yeah, man, it was cool.
Pretty cool.
His parents were probably hungry and
I'm sure
dragging
tired and grumpy.
Kids. How exciting.
This is awesome.
Sleep on the boat. I understand that the whaling that the company was offering everybody free passes for another whaling cruise.
Oh, no.
What is unknown is whether they saw any whales.
Yeah, right.
All right. Hey, we got a lot coming up today. David Jackson will join us as he does every Wednesday from the White House. Covers the White House for USA Today. Reporters in from Huffington Post and the National Journal, and very honored and happy to welcome back into the studio today the great Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Another day, another proclamation that someone has the best burger in America.
No. You can't beat Five Guys, so stop.
Well, this is a different story. This is in New York
Okay.
City.
Uh-huh.
Esquire magazine has hunted down what they say is the best burger in America right now. It's at Raoul's. It's a restaurant that doesn't normally serve burgers. In fact, they only serve 12 burgers per night. And they only serve them at the bar. So you have to show up early, you have to sit at the bar, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to get one of the 12 people who get the burger, which is topped with an Opov sauce, an Opov mayonnaise, a brisket-heavy patty topped with triple cream, St. Andre cheese, wilted watercress, cornichon, and on a challah bun.
Why don't they serve more than 12?
They say that they don't normally serve burgers. They think that they've perfected this burger, and they can only do 12 perfectly while serving the rest of the menu every night. That's according to Esquire magazine.
All right. Okay.
So,
well,
you know.
scratch that off the list.
There you go.
I mean, I don't go all the way to New York and then maybe not get one.
That's right. That's the thing. It's a gamble if you're going to get one.
I'm telling you, the little bacon cheeseburger at Five Guys.
I don't disagree with you.
There you go.
Pound for pound, you know you're going to find one in most cities. You can get one. In PLOS medicine, researchers have reported that they have possibly found a milestone cure for malaria.
Ooh.
They tested 1,000 children who received this vaccine, and an average of 800 cases, malaria was prevented. So an 80% success rate, that's pretty good. They're saying that they're going to start producing some of these in about 18 months, and we'll be seeing some on the market in 2016. But they're saying that, yeah, it's doing a really, really good job to fight malaria.
Finally. Finally, and badly needed.
And you can see the world from your computer if you just go on Google Maps.
I can see Russia from my front porch.
You can see Russia from your front porch. Google Maps has mapped just about everywhere in the world. You can just look on and you go on Google Maps, and you got the street view. One place that you haven't been able to see before now is Ellis Island. But Google Maps has worked out a deal where they can actually map Ellis Island and Liberty Island. They have someone who has a backpack with a camera on it, and they're going to map the whole island. So you can go on to Google Maps, you can go to Ellis Island, and you could do a tour right from your computer. Previously, they've kept them out of there, but now you can.
All right. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but
That's kind of cool.
If you've never been...
if you're an immigrant...
If you're an immigrant. I mean, if you've never been and you have no plans to go to New York, I'd be curious to see what it looks like. I've never been.
I've been to Ellis Island.
Okay.
No desire to go back.
I would imagine
it's
part
not,
of
it's
the
not one of the
appeal-
beauty spots of this nation.
Sure. I would imagine part of the people would be standing
rather go to
there.
Big Sur.
Standing there where some people cross into America for the first time, right? So if you're not going to do that, you're going to do it on your computer. Seems like some of the magic might be
Keep
lost.
selling, Peter. Keep selling.
No, I'm saying it might be lost if you go on your computer to do it.
I got it.
And you can check the book there, see how many presses came in.
That's right.
We were here long before. We were here long before Ellis Island. Yeah. We were here when the first white man came. So, hey, we start off this morning. With this is so funny. Okay, I kid you not. To show you, I want to talk about impeachment and this whole crazy war over impeachment in Washington today, and of course, get your thoughts on it. But to show you how Republicans are trying to make this the latest big political scandal. The headline on Fox News, the last time I looked at the monitor, was "Party's Political Stunt." That's the message that the Republicans are trying to get out. That any talk about impeachment is just being stirred up by, and there's all kinds of talk about impeachment in Washington today, that it's all coming from the White House, and it's all coming from the Democrats, and it's all that Republicans have nothing to do with it, and it is all about raising money and getting Democrats out to vote in the midterm elections. Now, if you I just want to say right now, if you believe that, then you believe that people from Switzerland shot down some Swiss peasant, some Swiss farmer shot down the Malaysian Airlines plane over eastern Ukraine. Okay, but it starts. I mean, here it is. None other than John Boehner yesterday blaming all this impeachment talk on the White House.
It's all a scam started by Democrats at the White House.
Yeah, I mean, can you believe it? And John Boehner says, here's what it's all about.
This whole talk about impeachment is coming from the president's own staff and coming from Democrats on Capitol Hill. Why? Because they're trying to rally their people to give money and to show up in this year's election. We have no plans to impeach the president.
No. By the way, no plans to impeach. Just a quick aside. I mean, Boehner, how hypocritical of Boehner. No, we have no plans to impeach the president. We'll just sue him anyway. We'll just sue him instead.
Right. Which impeachment is ridiculous.
Which, of course, for Boehner is a first step toward impeachment, right? And they're only saying we'll sue him until Republicans get control of the Senate. Then we'll impeach him. That's really what Boehner is really saying. But Boehner is just dead wrong. Dead wrong. First of all, it is true. Let's admit this. Democrats are raising a lot of money because Republicans, telling people, Democrats, Republicans are talking about impeaching President Obama, and you've got to help us fight that. They are raising a lot of money. They raised $1 million just 2 days ago in one day. Over the weekend, they raised $2.1 million, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. The day after Sarah Palin said we should impeach the president, they raised $500,000. They got 74,000 new donors, first-time donors to the DCCC over the weekend. So, yeah, they're raising money about it. But why are they raising money about it? Well, for some very good reasons. Because Republicans keep talking about it. And notice, a lot of the people talking about it are people who would be in a position to vote to impeach the president. But to show you where this started and how long ago it started, here is talk show host Michael Savage on February the 4th, 2009. President Obama had been in office for barely 3 weeks.
Impeach Obama now. Stop him before he kills this country. That's my opinion. Get out the bumper stickers, put them on your cars, and get the liberals riled up. Get in their faces, scream in their faces. Don't take their garbage because you're losing this country. In less than 3 weeks, he's passed 5 or 6 executive orders. He's made nice to killers at Gitmo. He's granted them rights they're not entitled to. Now today he slaps us in the face with a children's health care bill.
February 4th.
3 weeks.
February 4th.
That's
right,
amazing.
okay?
That's amazing.
And it goes on. And remember, today, as I say, a lot of people are in position to vote for it. But one of the leading Republicans, right? Here she is. Let's forget. She's nuts. But she was the vice presidential candidate for the Republican National Party, Sarah Palin.
Impeachment is a message that has to be sent to our president that we're not going to put up with this lawlessness.
And just last Sunday, Steve Scalise, he's just not some nobody congressman. He is the number 3 most powerful Republican in the House of Representatives, went on Fox News Sunday and said impeachment is still on the table. At least he refused to take it off the table. So we're just not talking about some yahoos. And by the way, we're just not talking about 1 or 2. In the United States Senate, among those Republicans who have called to impeach President Obama, James Inhofe from Oklahoma, Tom Coburn from Oklahoma, Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, Tim Scott from South Carolina, and there's one other senator. I mentioned Tom Coburn from Oklahoma. All of those senators, okay, in the House. Members of the House include Jack Kingston from Georgia, Steve King from Iowa, Steve Stockman from Texas, Bill Flores from Texas, Paul Brown from Georgia, Ted Yoho from Florida, Michael Burgess from Texas, Carrie Bentivolio from Michigan, remember, said impeaching President Obama would be a dream come true. Louis Gohmert from Texas, Michelle Bachmann from Minnesota, Randy Weber from Texas. All of these are Republican members of the House who have called on impeaching President Obama. So this is not the idea that this is something made up by the White House. It's just absolutely not true. Tell me what you think about this, 866-55-PRESS. Do you think Republicans are going to get away with talking about impeachment, calling on impeaching President Obama, and then blaming Democrats for stirring it up? No, they're the ones that have stirred it up. I mean, there's no doubt about it. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Let's talk about it. And you know what? It just reminds me of Harry Truman. Harry Truman famously once said, when his opponents were claiming that he was distorting what they were saying, Harry Truman said, if they stop telling lies about me, I'll stop telling the truth about them. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour. Of course, if Republicans don't want Democrats to raise money over impeachment, you know what the answer is? Isn't it obvious? Stop talking about it. Yeah. Here's Scott from out in Sheffield, Iowa. Hello, Scott. What do you say?
Well, this is what I say about the impeachment. They do not say a word about the process. It starts in the House, and with the Republicans in the House, it's going to go through but when it gets to the Senate, everybody, it's got to take a 2/3 majority to impeach a president, and there's no way in hell the Republicans are going to get 2/3 of the senators to do it, even if they do take the Senate over this year.
Well, what happened, Scott? No, you make it. You are absolutely correct. This thing is going nowhere. The truth of it is, they're doing it to stir up their base. Thanks, Scott. Good to hear from you. Let's jump to Chicago. Hello, Joey.
Good morning, guys. I think this is going to work for the Democrats. I think the Republicans realize they're doing something that they did in the 90s, and it helped reelect Bill Clinton. And just suing them is enough to get the Democrats out. They're really petrified now because we're talking about impeachment. I think they realize something's coming at them, and they're not happy about it. I think we could take over the Senate on this one, Bill. The House, and keep the Senate.
Yeah.
I think this is good.
All right, Joey, you know what? What John Boehner ought to say if he's really worried about it, he ought to tell his fellow Republicans to shut the hell up instead of blaming the White House.
This
More calls coming
is the
up.
Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just switch the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Here we are. Welcome back. The Bill Press Show, talking about this crazy effort on the part of Republicans now. They want it both ways. More and more of them, members of the Senate, members of the House, former vice presidential candidates, calling on the Congress to impeach President Obama. Of course, they never say for what offense, for what high crime or misdemeanor, but they keep talking about impeachment. And then when Democrats turn around and very successfully raise millions of dollars on impeachment, on that threat of impeachment, then Republicans say, well, we're not talking impeachment. Democrats are just making this up. Oh, yeah? We said it's on right-wing talk radio, and it's coming from the politicians. How about, we showed Michael Savage just a few minutes ago, starting this off on February 4, 2009, less than 3 weeks after President Obama took the oath of office. But here's Glenn Beck just a year ago.
I personally am calling to impeach the President of the United States. This is impeachable.
Now, this hypocrite just like 2 or 3 days ago said, nobody's calling for impeaching President Obama. But there he is. A year ago, Glenn Beck himself. What does he think we forget, or did he forget? I mean, that he called for impeaching President Obama just a year ago. And, of course, we mentioned Sarah Palin and all those senators and members of the House who have done so. And then Karl Rove, of course, Fox News always trots him out. But here he is on Greta last night, again, blaming this. All the Democrats are making this up. We're not talking about this at all.
The Speaker of the House has said we will not consider or take up this issue. There's no serious Republican leader who stepped forward and said, here's the bill of particulars that justifies this extreme action. And yet the President of the United States sends out his press secretary last week to stir the waters and suggest this is real.
Now, Karl Rove, notice, no serious Republican leader has said this. All right, Sarah Palin, guess we don't take you seriously, baby, anymore. How about Steve Scalise, the Republican whip in the House? Number 3, there's John Boehner, Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, calling for the impeachment of President Obama. How about Tom Coburn, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, Jim Inhofe, Republican. By the way, Ted Cruz ought to be on this list. He's the one I forgot a little earlier, Ted Cruz. Republican senators. Karl Rove saying they're not a serious Republican leader. Republicans are talking about this. They can't deny it. We got the tape. We got the transcripts. They are obsessed with impeachment, and make no doubt about it. This is their agenda. That's why they want to take over the Senate. And that's why Democrats are giving money to stop it. Peter?
Remember, we are on Twitter, @BP Show. At BP Show. It's always great to get comments there. Holly Tooker says impeachment talk is just more typical GOP projection. Also,
good point.
Jerry Voss weighing in says it's always been bizarro world with the GOP. Up is down, east is west. They lie so much they believe their own lies.
Yeah. And here, again, want your calls at 866-55-PRESS. But here to me, it is so obvious. If you want to stop Democrats from raising money on the impeachment issue, the way to do it for Republicans is to stop talking about it, to stop calling for Obama's impeachment. But every time you turn around, there's another Republican on right-wing talk radio, usually, who is doing so. Yeah, and then John Boehner, right, denying having anything to do with it while he's taking the first step toward impeachment, which is this lawsuit. Marcia calling from Dwight, North Dakota. Hello, Marcia.
Hi. I just go on and to say that we kind of live in a Keynesian world now where everything is the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, where even the bills that they pass mean the opposite. Everything that Republicans say, you can go back in the tape and see them doing exactly the thing that they're saying Democrats are doing. And they think that we're going to buy it. They're crazy.
Well, unfortunately, there are too many of their. I think their base buys it, right? And that's what they're really trying to use this to stir up their base in the midterm elections. There's no doubt about it. And I guess the base the unthinking base just does buy it. It is it does have a sort of a behind the looking glass kind of feel to it, doesn't it? Where you know everything is not what is the opposite of what it seems.
I don't know if they just think that it's a different time and we don't have the tape, you know, or they just don't realize.
Well, that's what gets me.
Yeah.
How can a guy like Glenn Beck say nobody's talking about impeachment when he himself called for impeachment just a year ago? So he thinks that nobody's going to go back and check, right? Or nobody's going to remember. The same thing with John Boehner. How John Boehner say, or Karl Rove, no Republican is talking about this when John Boehner's number 2 guy, after him, Kevin McCarthy, and then Steve Scalise, is out there talking about it.
Yeah.
And you could, I read you the list earlier of members of Congress. It's as long as my arm, Republican members of Congress who have called for impeaching President Obama. And then you've got 6 United States senators. I mean, Lindsey Graham, I disagree with him, but Lindsey Graham's a pretty powerful senator. He ain't Mr. Nobody.
Right.
Tom Coburn ain't Mr. Nobody.
Right.
Right? In the Senate. These are serious guys. Stephen in Aurora, Illinois. Hi, Stephen.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey,
I
what
got
is up?
Simple solution for the problem. 2-pronged attack from the Democratic National Committee. just have a television commercial with a split screen with every Republican with a bigger, Scalise on the top that he's the number 3, all of them saying impeachment, impeachment, and open it up with President Reagan saying you're entitled to your own opinion but not your own facts, and then have a website where the people can go to, they can click on, it'll go to each Republican, and then they can have the storyline when and where they said impeachment, and then just end all confusion.
Well, put it out there, yeah. And I'll tell you, Democrats have. I got this list yesterday, Stephen. Appreciate the call. Thanks for joining us. I got this list yesterday from Harry Reid's office, Majority Leader in the United States Senate, who did, and I think this must be available. In fact, I got this online yesterday too. So I think if you go online and just look at GOP impeachment or GOP calls for impeachment, you'll see the list. And but Peter, Steve, the only thing, Steve, I just want to say is it was Senator Daniel Moynihan, the great Daniel Moynihan, who said, not Ronald Reagan, it was Daniel Moynihan who said you're entitled to your own opinion but not to your own facts, just for the record. But I want to read again. This is a list of senators and members of Congress, Republicans, who have called for impeaching President. We're not making this up. Democrats are not making this up. Senate, Republicans, Ted Cruz, Jim Inhofe, Tom Coburn, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott. On the record, calling for impeaching the president. I mean, Lindsey Graham said he should impeach the president for releasing prisoners from Gitmo, for that prisoner exchange. I mean, they're all for various things, but the answer to them was impeaching. In the House, Republicans in the House, Jack Kingston, Steve King, Steve Stockman, Bill Flores, Paul Brown, Ted Yoho, Michael Burgess, Kerry Bentivolio, Louis Gohmert, Michelle Bachmann, Randy Weber, and, of course, led by Steve Scalise, who is the Republican whip, just elected, the Tea Partier. So don't tell me the White House is making this talk up. Don't tell me the Democrats are making this up. Democrats may be taking advantage of it. Good for them. They're smart to do so, but Republicans are fanning the flames.
You can see there's some stuff out there on social media saying, "Oh, well, Democrats had the same conversation about George W.
No,
Bush.
we didn't.
They were talking about impeachment, and there were some people. There was not a list of politicians. In fact,
Right.
Nancy Pelosi quite publicly took that off the table and charges against the president. Like, not even close to this level of rhetoric.
Right. Let me tell you. I'll tell you one thing. The White House is not really worried about this because they know it's going
Right.
nowhere. This is between the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and John Boehner's office. We'll tell you we'll find out what the White House and the president is up to, what they are really spending their time on, with David Jackson, who covers the White House for USA Today, coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
At 12 minutes before the top of the hour, President Obama waking up in Kansas City, Missouri this morning. And before he left the White House yesterday, announcing some new sanctions on Russia. David Jackson covers the White House for USA Today, joining us on our news line. Hello, David. How are you?
Bill.
Good to have you back, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for going over there to Germany and giving them. You gave them a little backbone, got them to step up to the plate on some sanctions.
Well, that little plane crash happened while I was away, and that seemed to change the dynamic quite a bit.
Oh, well, it did, yeah. First of all, what's the president up to in Kansas City? What's on the agenda there?
The economy. It's the latest in his series of he's had a series of trips where he's met with people who've written him letters talking about the economic challenges they face. And President Obama had dinner last night with a couple of letter writers at Arthur Bryant's in Kansas City, of which I'm very envious because that's one of the great barbecue places in the country. I would love to have been there.
Peter is envious as well.
Yeah, oh man, it's a great place. Yeah. And so he met with folks last night, and he's going to talk about it today in Kansas City at the Uptown Theater. Basically delivering an economic speech. And he's going to talk a little bit more about this, I think it's called inversion. It's this deal where U.S. companies partner with overseas subsidiaries in order to avoid paying American taxes. He's going to talk a little bit about that. And it wouldn't surprise me to hear him talk about the ending things that are going on in Congress, particularly the highway bill and also the border appropriation that he's seeking.
Yeah, no fundraiser as part of this trip.
No. I think it would have been a bad idea given all the politics surrounding the end of the congressional term. They figured this would be strictly a work trip.
Yeah, and of course we have to recognize this is Josh Earnest's hometown. So
it's his hometown, but he's not there. It's very interesting. I'm not quite sure why he didn't make this trip. His deputy Eric Schultz is.
That's right. I thought Josh did go, but you're right. I saw that Eric Schultz is gaggling on.
Right. Yeah. So Josh is back. Of course, they're getting ready to have a baby, so that's part of it. But
maybe that's what it was.
It was interesting because when the people who were invited to have dinner, they got the official invite from Josh Earnest. He made phone calls to different people asking if they'd like to have dinner with President Obama.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Oh, good.
A video on the White House website about it.
He was certainly proud of the fact that the president was going to his hometown. Now, I saw you at the briefing, and just after the briefing, the White House announced before he hopped on Marine One to go out over to Walter Reed that the president was going to make the announcements which we expected earlier in the day. We knew was coming, I guess, on the sanctions. What's different about these sanctions, and what's up with the EU?
Well, they're U.S. and EU sanctions. And the EU sanctions are a lot tougher because these sanctions are designed not just to hit individuals or or businesses within Russia, but they're designed to tackle entire sectors of the Russian economy, particularly when it comes to energy, arms sales, and finance, which are three main pillars of the Russian economy. So the EU sanctions are tougher, Bill, because Europe does more business with Russia than we do. So they're basically restricting banks' activities with other businesses around the world, and cutting off some arms sales and doing some other things I think will really do quite a bit of damage to the Russian economy in the long term.
So this could really have an impact, at least one hopes, I guess.
If they stick, yes, very much so. I mean, you always wonder whether some countries won't buy some Russian weapon systems or oil technology or stuff, but if people stick to the plan, I think they will do some damage. And the question is whether they'll do enough damage to change Putin's behavior.
Right. Now, I want you to settle the riddle once and for all. David Jackson covers the White House for USA Today. Who started all the impeachment talk? The White House or the Republicans? They're each pointing fingers at the other.
I think we could. I think neither is. I think it's the talk show, the conservative talk shows. I think are the ones that started, and as these things they tend to bubble up, and eventually you have members of Congress talking about it. I mean, and these aren't leaders in Congress; they're more the outliers. But there are Republicans in Congress who have at least discussed the idea of impeachment and talked about how well might have the votes to impeach him. So, I guess if you force me to, I'd say the Republicans. But the White House quickly picked it up and are using it as a fundraising tool.
Well, I was going to say, I do think the Republicans started it and then the conservative talk show host. But I have the impression that the White House is not really that unhappy.
No. In fact, at this point, the White House is doing more talking about impeachment than Republicans are. Certainly the Republican leadership. So, yes, I think they're more than happy to welcome it. And President Obama has talked about this elliptically on the road, and he'll probably talk about it again. He feels like he's been singled out, unlike other presidents, and that the Republicans just don't want to work with him. And the impeachment talk is a handy way for him to illustrate that.
Mm-hmm. And finally, we've got a day and a half left before Congress goes home. Do you think there'll be any action at all on the border?
That is a good question. That's what we're all waiting for. I think there could be if the White House is willing to settle for only half of its appropriations requests, but
I think they'd settle for half. I'm not sure they'll settle for 600,000 is what Republicans have now in the House have put up. That's
right. That's what the number keeps changing. So I think first of all, if Congress can agree on a smaller package, that's a big question. And then if they do, will President Obama accept it? But if they don't, I'm sure we're going to hear something from President Obama on the border either late this week or next week, regardless of whatever Congress does. What they're doing, they're waiting to see exactly what, if anything, Congress gives them, and then they're going to go ahead and do what they want.
They've got to have a backup plan because
for sure.
Absolutely. All right. David Jackson on the job at the White House for USA Today. Thanks, David.
Right, thank you.
All right, always great. USAtoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the Bendery.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Lucia Graves from the National Journal will be here in studio with us. Peter, and Senator Tom Harkin coming up a little bit later.
Is Hillary Clinton running for president?
Are there cows in Texas?
That's a good question. Well, she was asked in an interview with Fusion Television, a big issue that you can expect to see a lot of presidential candidates have to weigh in on. Should the Washington Redskins change the name of their team? She was asked that question. She said, quote, "I think it is insensitive, and I think that there's no reason for it to continue as a name of a team in our nation's capital." So she's come out in favor of changing the name of the Washington football team.
I think that now everybody but Dan Snyder has said that. So I welcome Hillary's comments. I think she's a little late to the party here, right?
Seems that
but
way.
she certainly is on the right side of the issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. And I think it does show that good sign that she's running for president. Coming up. 2 more hours coming up. Stay with us. Senator Tom Harkin
is
coming
the
up.
Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 30. Man, this summer is really flying by. Here we are with you on Free Speech TV this Wednesday morning and on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. President Obama starts the day out in Kansas City, Missouri, where he spent the night last night after going out for a barbecue dinner with some people who had written him letters from Kansas City. Today, he'll give a speech at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City, speech on the economy before he heads back here to Washington, D.C., where he may find some progress on getting a compromise solution to problems, solving problems at the Veterans Administration, but not much progress on the immigration front. Republicans afraid to leave town without doing anything at all, seem to want to put forward a bill that would spend only $600 million on the border, where the president says $3.7 billion is necessary to take care of these children at the border. The Senate Democrats have already said they don't want anything to do with that little kind of cheap Republican plan. Only a day and a half left before Congress leaves, and they don't have much time to fix it. The impeachment wars are rocking this Capitol, with Republicans accusing Democrats of stirring up impeachment only to raise money. Democrats point out it's Republicans, Republican senators, and Republican members of the House, not to mention a former Republican vice presidential candidate, who are the ones talking about impeachment and won't stop. And meanwhile, the leaders of the European Union and the United States yesterday both slapped new sanctions on Russia to try to bring Vladimir Putin to his senses and pull his troops out of East Ukraine. All of that coming up. Give us a call. Talk about it all with us at 866-55-PRESS. Welcome on board.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission, where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Only a day and a half left before we leave on a 5-week summer vacation. Oh, that's right. You and I don't get that vacation, just members of Congress. Oh, God. We deserve it. They don't. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you on a Wednesday, July 30. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, most powerful city on the planet. We are located right in the heart of the action on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We've got both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue covered here in the Capitol, right next door to us, and the White House down at the 5 or 6 metro stops away. We've got our eye on what's happening around the country and around the globe, and we will bring it all to you here on your local progressive talk radio station, on the TuneIn app, on Free Speech TV, and on TawkrTV, our worldwide video stream, where we'll bring you up to date on all the news of the day, and then open the phones, open the social media lines, look for your comments. First of all, by phone at 866-55-PRESS, on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Good to have you with us today, and joining the entire team, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Good morning,
Hey,
Bill.
good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Good.
Middle of the week.
Happy Wednesday.
Here we go.
It's hump day. And boy, am I tired.
I know. Yeah, we haven't heard that in a long time. But I just can't believe it's the 30th of July already.
It's Christmas in July outside, man.
It is. It's a little chilly here.
Willy woo.
But just the idea that the summer's moving so fast.
Yeah, seriously.
Flying by, Alicia Cruz is here on the phones, ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. It's worth a call just to be able to talk to Alicia. And if you're enjoying us on Free Speech TV or the video stream, join us in saying a big thank you and hello to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. So got the cameras pointed in the right direction most of the time. So
he keeps the mood lighting on me,
yeah.
Rub a little
So we've been
Vaseline
talking a lot about electronic cigarettes and all the different flavors they have with electronic cigarettes,
Sure.
some 7,500 different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the manufacturers of bottled water have decided, hey, wait a minute. If they can have those flavors and get so many more people to buy electronic cigarettes, let's jazz up our bottled water. David Letterman has fun with that last night.
Great news, ladies and gentlemen. You can now buy, and by the way, this is why, I like to point this out from a sociological standpoint. This is why the rest of the world hates us. In the United States of America, you can buy water, bottled water, that is flavored like chocolate chip cookies. Because, I mean, that's the only way we're going to keep America hydrated. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen?
That's just silly.
It really is silly.
It's disgusting when you think about it.
Doesn't it sound horrible?
Oh, it does. It does. And, first of all, I don't buy bottled water because I just think it's such a scam, right? I have a couple of plastic bottles of water in my refrigerator. I just refill them from the tap.
Yeah.
Just reuse the bottles all over again, right? But if I'm ever out, and I should say I rarely buy bottled water. If I want something with a flavor to it, I'll have a Diet Coke or a Dr. Pepper or whatever, right? But if I just want a really refreshing drink, and I know I want what's better for me, I'll have a bottle of water. Or a glass of water.
What's wrong with water?
You don't need to flavor your water.
Hey, you know what? Every now and then, if I'm going to be sitting on the couch watching my stories, I'll make a little pitcher of water and I'll put some sliced ginger in it or something like that. Occasionally. But I don't put chocolate chip cookies in there. Get out of here.
Or water with lemon.
I was just going to say lemon, lime.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, something like that. Chocolate chip. Yeah. Come on. No.
God, that's so great. It just doesn't even sound good at all.
No. You got it. Senator Tom Harkin, the great one and only Senator Tom Harkin, will be in studio with us in the next hour. We'll have reporters coming in from National Journal and Huffington Post and more on all the big controversy here in the nation's capital over who is responsible for the impeachment talk. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Happy birthday to Livia Davis, was born earlier this week. She has quite the birth story. Her mother, Lily, went to the hospital because she said she felt like she was having a baby. The hospital said, "You're not ready. You need to go home." As soon as she got home, she told her husband, "I feel like I need to push. This baby's coming." So they went to the bathroom, and she pushed, and the baby came out. And the father, David, caught the child and then dropped little Livia into the toilet.
Oh, no.
She's fine.
Oh.
Everything's okay.
It's a birth and baptism in one.
Yeah. Exactly. She was christened by the commode.
Oh, God.
Everything's fine. She's good. She's healthy. They did go to the hospital later to just get her all checked out. She's healthy. 7 pounds, 6 ounces, everybody. But what a birth story that is.
Oh, yeah.
We loved you so much, we threw you in the toilet. In Los Angeles, UCLA is getting hammered with a burst water main. They saw 8 to 12 million gallons of water flood their campus.
The video of this is unbelievable.
It's unreal. Now, I saw, you know this area better than I do.
The campus was it's a huge campus. It's a beautiful campus. It was underwater.
Underwater. Now, I saw one person who lives there saying that the campus is sort of in a bowl area, almost like in a little valley.
Yeah.
And so all the water just rushed into that area and flooded the campus. The Pauley Pavilion, which is where the basketball team plays, they went under a $136 million renovation just 2 years ago.
Ooh.
The photos and video coming out of there, it's under like a couple feet of water.
Yeah, the whole
basketball court.
Basketball court was right. You could see people sloshing through there, right?
Yeah.
They say it's 35,000 gallons a minute.
Holy cow. It was just pouring water.
During a drought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Jeez. Ugh. And Red Lobster, Bill, it's a place that I know you don't go to very often.
No.
But they're struggling. They have some business problems. They said that they might not be around, but their last-ditch effort is they are remaking Red Lobster to make it into a fancy restaurant. Now,
isn't it already fancy?
Well,
by some people's
standards, yeah. If all you can eat shrimp for $11.99 sounds fancy, then yeah, it's fancy. But their solution is they used to serve their food on square or rectangle plates with everything separated. Now their big idea is they're serving the same dishes and the same food, only it's going to be on round plates with the food stacked on top of each other. So they're going to, instead of having rice here and fish here and vegetables here, they're going to have rice and then fish and then vegetables all piled on top. Make it look fancy.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. It's not going to work.
I don't think so.
Yeah, talked about this in the last hour, and it is the dominant issue here in our nation's capital. I wanted to dig down a little deeper on it, and that is all the talk about all the impeachment talk. If you listen to, so the question to you, get your calls ready at 866-55-PRESS and your comments ready on Twitter at BP Show. The question is, who's really responsible for all this impeachment talk? John Boehner says it ain't us. It's the White House.
It's all a scam started by Democrats at the White House.
Yes, and Boehner says there's no doubt about why they're doing it.
This whole talk about impeachment is coming from the president's own staff and coming from Democrats on Capitol Hill. Why? Because they're trying to rally their people to give money and to show up in this year's election. We have no plans to impeach the president.
No plans. It ain't us. We're not. We didn't start this impeachment talk. John Boehner is saying Democrats did it, and they're only doing it in order to raise money. Guess what? Great big fat lie. Don't you believe it? And I'm sure you don't believe it because you remember, as well as all of us do, who really started it. Now, it is true that Democrats are raising money on the impeachment issue. It is true that 2 days ago, Monday, in one day, they raised $1 million. Over the weekend, this is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC. I saw Steve Israel, the head of it. He's been a frequent guest on our show the other night at a party. And he had a big smile on his face. He's told me that this impeachment stuff is the best thing that they've ever had in terms of fundraising. They got 74,000 new donors over the weekend. $2.1 million over the weekend, $1 million on Monday alone. So yes, Democrats are raising money on it. But guess who gave them the ammunition? Democrats did not make this up, did not invent it. Republicans are talking about impeaching the president, and they've been doing so for a long time. It started on talk radio. How early? It started less than 3 weeks. Here on February 4, 2009, less than 3 weeks after President Obama took the oath of office, is right-winger Michael Savage.
Impeach Obama now. Stop him before he kills this country. That's my opinion. Get out the bumper stickers, put them on your cars, and get the liberals riled up. Get in their faces, scream in their faces. Don't take their garbage because you're losing this country. In less than 3 weeks, he's passed 5 or 6 executive orders. He's made nice to killers at Gitmo. He's granted them rights they're not entitled to. Now today he slaps us in the face with a children's health care bill.
Oh, my God. No, we're not going to give children health. But the idea, this, again, February 4, 2009. That's how long it's been going on. And, of course, since then, other people have piled on. Glenn Beck has piled on. Others have piled on as well. And it's not just on talk radio. Then you have Republican political leaders. Sarah Palin is nuts. But she, she was a vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party. They nominated her. They said she was so good that she was ready to step in and be president of the United States. So Sarah Palin is a serious Republican. Serious. She is a leader of the Republican Party. Here she is.
Impeachment is a message that has to be sent to our president that we're not going to put up with this lawlessness.
Yeah. So it's Sarah, but it's not just outsiders like Sarah Palin. It's people who, here's what's scary. People who actually have the power, were impeachment to get started, they would have a vote and clearly would vote for it and clearly are trying to take over the Senate so they can impeach President Obama. Republican office holders in the Congress, in the Senate, let's start there, include Ted Cruz, James Inhofe, Tom Coburn, Lindsey Graham, and Tim Scott. Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott, both from South Carolina, of course. Coburn and Inhofe from Oklahoma. Ted Cruz from Texas. James, Tom Coburn says that the president was getting perilously close to the standard for impeachment. Lindsey Graham said, if President Obama released prisoners from Gitmo, or what did
Gitmo?
Gitmo is what Michael Savage called it. Our side will call for his impeachment if he does that. On and on. So you got 5 or 6 Republican senators, and in the House, Jack Kingston from Georgia, Steve King from Iowa. Steve Stockman from Texas says President Obama is begging to impeach. Bill Flores from Texas. If the House had an impeachment vote, it would probably impeach the president. Paul Brown from Georgia. If the House leaderships bring an impeachment vote, there would certainly be good reason for doing so with substantive information and evidence to impeach the president. Ted Yoho, Republican from Florida. Our president should be impeached. I mean, it goes, Carrie Bentivolio from Michigan. If I could write that bill, it would be a dream come true. So, Democrats didn't make this up at the White House. Republicans keep talking about it. Members of the House, members of the Senate, former vice presidential candidate. And remember, in talking about the House, Steve Scalise, who is the number 3 most powerful Republican. The Republican whip. There's John Boehner, then Kevin McCarthy, and then Steve Scalise. Just 3 days ago on Fox News Sunday, refused to take impeachment off the table. So Democrats didn't make this up. They may be making money off it, but they didn't make it up. And our advice to Republicans is, if you don't want Democrats to make money over impeachment, then you better stop talking about it. And if Republicans were to stop talking about it, the Democratic money would dry up. Who started it? 866-55-PRESS. Will the American people fall for it? 866-55-PRESS. And don't you think this is really what the Republicans, this is why they want to take over the United States Senate, so they can impeach President Obama? No doubt in my mind, that would be their first item on their agenda if they got control of the Senate. Let's talk about it here. Wednesday on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. I just find it so funny that Republicans say, how dare the Democrats use impeachment to try to raise money? Well, first of all, they can use whatever argument they want to try to raise money. But the only reason the Democrats are able to raise money on the impeachment issue is because so many Republicans keep talking about impeaching the president, and they've been doing so, as we just showed you, since the day President Obama took office. Peter?
One quick comment, because we're on Twitter at BP Show, as you know, on Twitter at BP Show. Chime in with your comments there. Doug Holler said, Bill, the word on the street is that the GOP is already planning on impeaching Hillary Clinton.
You know they will.
Yeah.
Because they want they want to be the first party to have impeached him and her.
That's right. Matching impeachments.
Equal impeachment fury on the part of the Republicans. Let's go out to Radford, Virginia. Hello, Davis.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
The Senate is the only body which is responsible for impeachment proceedings. And as you said earlier, this is why the Republicans have wanted to take over the Senate. And this is also why they want to get rid of the 17th Amendment, because with all the gerrymandering going on, we would never see the Senate again. And then the Republicans, every time the Democrats got a president, the Republicans would impeach him for walking on the lawn.
Yeah, probably. And the 17th Amendment, of course, would take away the popular election of senators. And so the state legislatures, so reapportioned, right, would be able to appoint a very conservative or Republican senator. No, it is part of their agenda, David. You're absolutely right. And, of course, they need 2/3 vote. They may not be able to get it. But no doubt, I believe that this is the Republican agenda and the reason they want to take over the Senate. You know they could hold impeachment hearings in the House and will. And if they get control of the Senate, then they'll do so and move it over to the Senate. So we've got to block them.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week? Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
At 33 minutes after the hour, we roll on here from our nation's capital. The Bill Press Show brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. The good men and women of the Laborers Union under President Terry O'Sullivan. They're building a better America every day. That's their website. Check it out. LIUNA, L-I-U-N-A, LIUNAbuildsamerica.org. We are nearing the end of this major part of the 113th Congress. They've got a day and a half before they get out of town for a 5-week break. Can we expect anything done, and what's happening here, if anything, on the Hill? Lucia Graves is a staff correspondent for the National Journal and joins us back in studio today. Hello, Lucia. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
I want to start with pot. You have seen the New York, we've been talking about this the last couple of days on the show, the New York Times over the weekend, full-page editorial saying it's time to lift the prohibition against marijuana. That's been in place for 44 years for a whole variety of reasons, and let states do their own thing on marijuana. Is this going to get any support on the Republican side of the aisle?
You know, I think it will. I think that the criminal justice system is incredibly expensive, and even Republicans, a lot of them don't really want to see people using money and federal funds for being sent to prison for something like marijuana.
Right. Any potential presidential candidates, do you think, willing to stand up and take the lead here?
Well, you know, it's funny you ask, because I was just writing about how last week Rand Paul, who a lot of people say could be one of the Republican frontrunners if he decides to run.
Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that Rand Paul has his eyes on 2016. Yeah.
I think so, too. So the fact that he has been sort of actively carving out marijuana as an issue, I think, speaks volumes. He's not doing that with a blind eye to the presidency. And the fact that he thinks that's strategic, and we know that Rand Paul's very strategic. He's good.
For conservatives, right? Like, it's a very conservative issue to just say, you don't have to say, we believe in legalization of marijuana, but you could say, we believe that the states should decide.
Sure.
Like Colorado and Washington. Like, that's the most conservative take that you could possibly take.
That is a conservative issue, is federalism. Let the states do their thing. And Rand Paul is more of a libertarian than a Republican.
Right, so it's consistent with his ideology. It rings true.
So what does he say should happen? Legalization or decriminalization?
Decriminalization. He hasn't been out front on full-scale legalization at this point. What he has introduced is something that would protect all of the medical states, all 23 and the District of Columbia medical states in the U.S. from federal prosecution, which as a libertarian is the sort of thing that he would be interested in. It's states' rights, let the people decide. Mm-hmm. And it's not the only thing that he's introduced this year. He's also done a lot of work around hemp in Kentucky with Mitch McConnell, and he introduced another bill earlier this year that was a sort of softer version of what he has now introduced.
Do I recall that he had a history with marijuana when he was in college? Wasn't there some incident? I remember about
the Aqua Buddha.
The Aqua Buddha.
Yeah, you remember the Aqua Buddha?
Was it pot or alcohol involved in that?
I think that was pot.
I think it was
pot. I think it was pot too.
Yeah, I think his roots run deep with pot. He may have some personal reasons for thinking that it's no more harmful than alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, he does come from the bluegrass state. So
Yeah. So he and Barack Obama could.
There you go. Choom Gang and the Aqua Buddha. Together, man. It's a new buddy comedy.
They could get high together.
That's it. That's what they should do. They should get together and roast one. They'd be all right. They could see eye to eye.
Yeah. But this is an issue that I think he can talk about as part of the theme of get big government off our backs. Right?
Yeah, and what I think is so fascinating about it is that he can credibly defend it as something consistent with his ideology, as you say, but it's also something that he, I believe, thinks is strategic, and you're not going to get him to say this on the record.
Yeah, right.
But when you look at who cares about these issues, it's not just pot advocates, it's also minorities, because marijuana policy, as it's implemented in the U.S., is racist. And Rand Paul doesn't have a lot to offer Black constituents, but this is something very tangible. And I didn't get into this in my article, but or in my coverage, but it's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. It's so clearly an issue for minorities. Is this a way for Republicans who are, who do horribly with Black people to try to make some inroads there?
Well, in fact, I think it was 2 days ago in the New York Times. There was an article about about Rand Paul. He is like alone among potential Republican candidates for 2016 who is reaching out to the African American community.
Yeah,
in many ways. This is just one of the ways. It's not his principal plank, right? I want to talk to you because you all smoke pot, but it certainly would appeal when you look at, as you point out, 8.3 times young African Americans in all. I'm getting this from the New York Times again. In 49 out of 50 states. Hawaii being the only exception. 49 out of 50 states, young Black men are 8 times more likely to be arrested for small possession of small amounts of marijuana than a white male.
Yeah, it's an amazingly racist policy, and everyone sees that right now. Even Republicans have to acknowledge those numbers. So I think that that it's interesting to see this sort of opened up as a way to reach those voters potentially. And Rand Paul's been strategic in other areas too. He's people have described him as isolationist, and now he's trying to make inroads, being friendlier with Israel, which could also have good effects for his campaign. Sheldon Adelson looks very fondly on Israel, and so it's probably not a coincidence that he's sort of courting this mega donor by making inroads there. I think, he has.
Well, Newt Gingrich isn't around anymore, so Sheldon Adelson's going to need somebody who can be his candidate.
Right, exactly.
Lucia Graves here with us from the National Journal. Rand Paul and pot, 866-55-PRESS. You want to join us, so your calls are always welcome on any issue we are talking about. With this day and a half left to go before Congress leaves town, any hope that Republicans and Democrats are going to be able to come together on immigration? I mean, it's certainly not the great big comprehensive immigration reform bill, but anything at all to alleviate the current problem at the border?
Well, House Republicans are working on sort of a watered-down bill right now, and I think that what I heard most recently is that it's looking like it has a good chance of passing the House. It's been very effectively whipped by the new House Whip, Steve Scalise.
The Republican bill has a good chance of passing the House.
Right, which is not what Obama wants. I think they started out saying they wanted $1.5 billion, and the House bill is a little over a third of that.
But the Senate said, I think, $1.5 billion. The president said $3.7 billion.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, and the House somewhere to 1.5 to 2, or the Senate. I'm sorry, we haven't seen it yet. And the House is offering $600 million.
Yeah, they're offering a measly $600. So I think Republicans just want to get something passed so they don't have to go home to their districts and say, yeah, we did nothing. And the whole knock against them is that they're not proposing any alternative here. So this is their chance to fight back against that.
Do they have time to get it done?
They definitely have time to get it out of the House. I think there's some chance that they could get it done, but I'm not sure that they will. Before
what I saw this morning is that a vote is scheduled maybe for tomorrow, Thursday. I saw several members of Congress last night. I was at a reception for Senator Tom Harkin, and they all told me they're leaving Thursday afternoon. So if they're going to vote tomorrow morning, they're leaving Thursday afternoon. It gets out of the House, but so what? I mean, that's halfway through, right? Then the Senate has to act, and then the conference committee would have to get together.
Exactly
and
right.
then they have to send it to the president.
And you know that the Senate is probably going to try to add their own things to fortify it in ways that will be disagreeable to House Republicans.
Sure, the Senate's not going to take that little piece of nonsense from the House, right? So I just wonder if I don't see how they can get anything done at all at this point on immigration, no matter what John Boehner says. I mean, you follow more closely than I. They're going to run out of time, unless they delay the recess, which would be the other option.
But even if they run out of time, if they get something through the House, at least the House members can go back to their districts and say that. But I think you're right. I think it's sort of a crucible now, and it looks like they're not going to. I mean, they're certainly not going to do anything that substantive.
Yeah. And so, it seems we come to this point every time. I remember not so long ago now, but at Christmas time, everybody said, oh, they'll never leave. Before that, it was they'll never leave without doing something about student loans. I think that was like last summer. Well, guess what? They did. They didn't do anything about student loans. At Christmas time, they said, well, they'll never leave without doing something about extending unemployment benefits. They would not let these millions of Americans go through the Christmas season without having that unemployment. Guess what? They did. Now everybody's saying they'll never leave town without doing something about those children at the border. Guess what? I think they will. Yeah. Yeah, and it really sets up a much bigger fight even over 11 million undocumented immigrants and what's going to happen. Whether Obama is going to take executive action there, it'll put more pressure on that whole conversation. And that's something that he's been getting a lot of heat for from Republicans. Right. Interesting, but of course, he would not have to issue any executive orders if Congress would do its job, I would argue. Yesterday, we were told at the White House in the briefing that they are active. They have an active study underway about what additional executive orders on immigration, what executive measures or steps the president could take by executive order on immigration were Congress to fail to act. So they already are working on a plan B. They didn't have any specifics, but they acknowledged that there will be more executive orders signed by President Obama to deal with immigration while Congress continues to just dither on it. Talking the issues of the day here in Washington, D.C. with Lucia Graves from the National Journal. Always find a seat at the table for you. Join us anytime at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found on the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
At 12 minutes, make it 11 minutes before the hour. At the top of the next hour, the one and only great Senate leader, Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa, will be here in studio with us. We're trying to talk him into not retiring from the United States Senate. Come on, we just want Tom Harkin to stay around because we need him there. So we'll do our best in the next half hour. And I know you're going to want to talk to the good senator, and you can do so also by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. As you can do so now on the comments on the issues of the day. Here in Washington, D.C., with Lucia Graves, who is a staff correspondent for the National Journal. Lucia, I know one of the things, because we follow you, that you have been writing about are new efforts by Emily's List to recruit women candidates around the country. But Emily's List has been around a good time. Stephanie Shriak's a good friend of ours, the head of Emily's List. And they do great work to support women candidates, Democratic women candidates who are pro-choice, and they raise early money for them, which is what Emily, of course, stands for. Early money is like yeast. So what are they doing now that's new and different?
Well, so in the last 10 years, they've been training female candidates, giving them tips for how to be on the trail and run, and now they have a new program that's focused on women who say that they don't actually want to run for office, but would be open to recruiting other women who they identify as leaders in their community. And so this is sort of a way in to communities that wouldn't otherwise be interested in leadership for Emily's List. They're trying to sort of groom talent from the bottom up, kind of. They call it the pipeline to the pipeline is the name of the program, because when you have women at the top, and as Hillary Clinton can attest, women are doing very well at the top levels. And so what Emily's List is interested in now, as a way to stay relevant and be nimble and reinvent themselves with the changing times, which are frankly much better for women. They're trying to figure out how can we get more women to run in the first place. So they think they have a solution to that.
Right. So before, they would support women who came out on their own and said, I want to be a candidate,
Right.
and then
How do I do this?
identify them, and here they are, get you some help and get you some training. Now they're actually going out and finding women who don't want to run and convince them, hey, you should,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly right. It's fascinatingly psychological. It's as basic as encouraging women to have more confidence in themselves and in their ability to run for office and do it all, essentially. Have their families, have their struggles, have their obstacles, and say, you know what, I can do this. And so can the women that I see in the nail salon. So can the women that I work and volunteer with on school board. So can the women in my community.
And are these women who, are these candidates for United States Senate, United States Congress, federal office, or what level?
They're generally candidates for city council or local office. And I think the hope is that they will, develop and grow and maybe one day run for statewide office.
Yeah, but that's right. That's very important too. I mean, school boards, city council, board of supervisors, all of those things. That's how get people on the ladder and work their way up. Not everybody can start at the United States at Senate level. So you went to one of their training sessions. What was it like?
I did, yeah. I went to their training in Atlanta, and it felt like being back in college. It was Socratically taught. Everyone sat in a circle. They had a big slide projector at the front of the room, just 24 women who'd come in. And these are women, they'd showed up. It was a larger conference, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. So all black women, all union women who had come for another reason and had said, sure, I'll go to this Emily's List thing about finding leadership in my community. People didn't really come in there with a clear purpose, but they did offer up their afternoon, and they put a really dynamic woman, Jessica Bird of Emily's List, at the front of the room, and sort of to lay out, what it might look like to step up in their communities. And a lot of them have union leadership roles. They're already doing some things.
Right. Yeah. So it seems to me they would be prime prospects for good, strong candidates. Very important program, and very important. And the more women elected to every level of public office, as far as I'm concerned, the better off we'll be as a country. Good to see you, Lucia.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in. Okay. Keep up your good work. We'll see you again here soon. And we'll be right back. I'll tell you what the president is up to today, and then Senator Tom Harkin at the top of the hour.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what a great treat coming up in hour number 3 this morning. You won't want to miss this. Unfortunately, we'll lose you on Free Speech TV, but you got it. Go to the video stream. TawkrTV to be there for the great Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa. Sadly, retiring from the Senate this year, but he's going out in a blaze of glory, continuing to fight for the minimum wage and all those great causes. He'll be here with us in the next hour, followed by Jenn Bendery, who covers the Hill for Huffington Post, bringing us all up to date on the last day and a half of the Congress. So hour number 3 coming up on TawkrTV.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine. I would make medicine for the sick. I'd probably invent something new. 我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。If I could have an extra 5 years to live. You said 5, right? 5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters. I would probably want to go looking for dark matter. I think I'd go looking for aliens. If I could live an extra 5 years...
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime. I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna. I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks. Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, President Obama in Kansas City, Missouri, where he was out at Arthur Bryant's big barbecue house last night with some people from the area who had written him letters on jobs and how they're struggling with the economy. This morning, he will give a great big talk on the economy at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City. And then leaves Kansas City. Will be back at the White House later in the day, arriving about 5 o'clock at the White House. No briefing today because Eric Schultz will have a gaggle with reporters on Air Force One. At the top of the next hour, Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa joining us with all the good battles that he's fighting in his last days in the United States Senate. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so Let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Only a day and a half left for Congress before they leave town for that 5-week recess. Can they get anything done on immigration before they leave? Looking less and less likely. Hey, what do you say? Hello, everybody. Great to see you on this Wednesday, July 30. Can't believe the summer's flown by this fast. We are live in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., coming to you from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., with the news of the day. And, you hear a lot of criticism about the United States Congress. Most of it deserved, but there are a few exceptions. And we are so proud and happy to welcome to the studio this morning. I have to tell you, there is nobody in the United States, in the entire United States Congress, whom I admire more. Nobody who has fought harder for all the causes that you and I as progressive believe in, and nobody, I think, who has accomplished more in his time in office for the American people than the great Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa, who joins us this morning. Senator, it's great to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Bill, thanks for the invite. It's always great to be with my progressive friend here.
Now, so is it? Can we still change your mind here?
No.
Is it too late?
No. I got a great guy following me by the name of Bruce Braley. So there you go.
All right.
Now a young progressive, so he can move ahead.
How many years in the House for you, and then how many in the Senate?
10 in the House and 30 in the Senate. 40 years, Bill. So that's been a long haul. But it's been good. And we just had a little event last night with George Miller from California.
I was there.
I know. Great. I saw you there with Carol, and we had a great time. And George and I came together in 1974. We were on the same committees, both in the House and then in the Senate, and so we did a lot of work together for 40 years.
Great teamwork. One of the things I know at the Roosevelt dinner recently that you talked about you're the most proud of is the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yeah.
You mentioned about your brother,
right.
how personal this is for you.
Yeah.
And so what difference has that made in the lives of Americans, do you see?
Oh, man. You go back before 1990 when it was signed into law. If you were a person with a disability, you just about were excluded from society, both physically, because of the physical barriers. I mean, every time you walk down the street and you see a curb cut,
think of that bill, right?
Think of the bill. And it's amazing. When we thought of that, we thought, well, this is for people with disabilities who use wheelchairs, blind people with walking sticks, seeing eye dogs. You do those curb cuts. But people who are out there with their babies and strollers, elderly people using those walkers, they love that too.
Yeah.
So we found through the years that if you do things to make life better for people with disabilities, it helps everybody. I tell you, here's a challenge I always issue people. If you see a place that has a ramp and stairs, just stay there a while and watch how many people use the stairs instead of the ramp. People always use the ramp. It's just easier. And especially if you're older, people always use a ramp.
Interesting. And now in front of the Senate, there's the opportunity to put the United States on record with the Convention for the Rights of People with Disabilities. I mean, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? Shouldn't it be an automatic vote?
Well, it's a no-brainer, but I guess you have the Republicans stopping it. And I'm wondering if they have any brains at all anymore. So maybe
on what grounds?
Well, I don't know. They're afraid of the United Nations or something like that. But, this is a treaty. 148 nations have signed it. And it's to raise the standard around the world for the built environment, for transportation, education, everything for people with disabilities. It's modeled after the Americans with Disabilities Act. We had to be proud to export that from America. We had a vote on it 2 years ago. We failed by 5 votes, Bill. 5.
That's when Senator Bob Dole came to the floor, made a personal plea, and his fellow Republicans just slapped him in the face, basically.
Yeah. In fact, one of his fellow Republicans from Kansas, Senator Moran, was one of our counters in getting the votes together, and he turned around and voted against it. Well, here's what I heard, Bill, that it was held at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday in December 2 years ago. It was during a lame duck session, and Ted Cruz, we've heard of him, right?
We've heard of him, right.
Heard too much of him.
Sadly.
But he got up in the caucus. Now, mind you, he was not a senator, but he'd just been elected. And he threatened the caucus. He said, anyone who votes for that that UN treaty on disabilities, the Tea Party will count that as a negative vote. And then they came out 2 hours later and caved. They just caved. We've been working hard ever since. And we have some good Republicans on it. John McCain is a strong supporter. Even John Barrasso from Wyoming, a very conservative Republican. Kelly Ayotte from New Hampshire. Mark Kirk from Illinois, who doesn't like the UN, but he said the statement was, he said something like, well, if this makes the UN do something good for a change, I'm for it.
Well, that's one way to approach it. Sure. Yeah.
But we can't. The Republicans are blocking us. We need, as you know, under the Constitution, we need 2/3 vote to pass a treaty. But I think we're very close, and I think we should bring it up for vote, and I'm trying to do that, maybe even before the week is out. But if not, we'll bring it up in September.
I think one of the greatest legacies that I would hope that you'd be able to leave behind you before you end your days in the United States Senate would be to see a raise in the minimum wage, because that has been a lifelong cause of yours. And here we are stuck at $7.25.
It's hard to believe. And for tipped wages, tipped workers haven't had a raise since 1991, Bill.
No.
23 years. Still down to, $2.13 an hour. My bill would raise that to 70% of the minimum wage, which would be up to $7.70 an hour. It's just abysmal. And all the data shows that these tipped workers are just being nailed all the time on their work. And mainly they're women, they're people of color, they're low income. And we've been trying, and we're going to try again when we come back in September. We'll have another vote on raising the minimum wage, and I guess Republicans will block it again. But I've made this statement. We're either going to win the minimum wage vote in September, or we're going to win it in November at the polls.
Right.
I think people understand. People get this. This is an economic issue.
Every poll that I've seen, American people support that. And I remember, Senator, right after the president, I think in the State of the Union a couple of years ago, said we're going to raise minimum wage at $9. And the next morning you were on a program, and I asked you about it. You said, that's terrible because it should be higher. Well, you got him to go higher.
We got him to go higher.
But even 10.10 is not really where it ought to be, is it?
No, if we'd kept pace with the level of minimum wage in 1968, it would be around $10.96 an hour right now. So 10.10 is close.
Yeah.
Now, why did we pick 10.10? Because we wanted to get it above the poverty level and then index it for the future. So never again.
That's the key.
That's the key. Now, a lot of Republicans are saying, we'll raise the minimum wage to $9 or $9.30 or $9.50 and then index it. But then you're indexing a below poverty wage. And we can't have. That's why I've said I'll compromise on this bill in how it's implemented or tax benefits, all that, but not on the issue of 10.10, not on going below the level of poverty. No one should go to work every day and live in poverty.
Amen to that. You know, on the jobs front and the work investment in jobs front, there have been many proposals, most of them blocked by Republicans. But one of them actually got through, signed by the president last week. You were there with him in the South Court Auditorium when he signed it. In fact, the president said, hey, this was fun signing a bill. Let's do more of these.
That's right.
The Workplace Investment Act didn't get much attention. Most people don't even know about it. What does it do?
Well, this is the Workforce Investment Act. We now call it the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, so we changed the name. It hasn't been reauthorized since 2003. When I took over the committee from Senator Kennedy in 2009, I made this a major objective, so we've worked 5 years on it, and we finally got it done. This sets up your job training programs and retraining for people that lose their jobs.
So important.
It's so important because there are jobs out there. You've heard the stories, jobs, but people aren't trained for them. Well, this combines with the federal government providing about $9 billion a year and combining with workforce committees in local jurisdictions to provide for that kind of skills upgrade and job training for people that lose their jobs. It's long overdue because what we had in the past was not meeting the needs of today and what we see for the next several years in terms of the kind of jobs that we need. A lot of it requires equipment. You know, I mean, are you gonna teach someone IT on equipment that's 20 years old? Of course not. Of course not. The other thing we did in the bill, in that proposal, and one that I had been working on, was to change the way young people with disabilities enter the workforce. And that's a big part of the bill. Not too many people know about it, but it will change how, for right now, Bill, when a young person has an IEP, that's an individualized education program. They're in school. They have they have special education. Up till now, usually when they get out of school, they go pipelined right into a sub-minimum wage job in some sheltered workshop, and they never get out of it.
Yeah, right.
They're never tested. It's a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
And we found over the years that a lot of times these people with a little bit of training and skill upgrading
can do it. Right.
They can do a lot more. So in the future, young people with disabilities will go into competitive integrated employment first. And they'll have summer internships. They'll have job shadowing. They'll have work with vocational rehabilitation, rehab offices to get them trained so that when they get out of school, they will go into what we would call a real job, which they can do.
One of the other issues that you have been way out in front on, and we've talked a little bit about before, and I don't hear anybody else talking about these for-profit colleges that are really pretty scary, some of the stuff they get away with.
My committee, I set up an investigation team about, it's been 3 years ago now, to investigate the for-profit school industry. I didn't have a case to make one or the other. I'd heard reports coming in. I said, we got to find out about this. So we set up an investigative team, and we started having hearings on it. The Republicans boycotted my hearings. They wouldn't even come to it. They wouldn't even come.
Well, they don't even be bothered by the facts, Senator.
Exactly. So we kept bringing different people in to testify and stuff. And then we issued a report last year, a report on the for-profit school industry. And the for-profit school industry came out and said, Harkin, he's just against profits and he's against the private enterprise. And all that. I said, look, here's the report. I challenge any for-profit school out there. If you find one mistake in our report, please let me know. You know something, Bill? I've never heard from him. I've never heard from him. But I just my committee just issued a new report this morning showing how they're now ripping off our GIs. When Jim Webb was here, he was a senator from Virginia.
From Virginia.
We passed a bill called the Post-9/11 GI Educational Benefits Bill. It upped the kind of support that GIs would get in terms of education. Well, the for-profit industry has taken advantage of that. In the last, since 2010, we point out they've gotten about $1.7 billion of taxpayer money. This is taxpayer money.
Whoa.
And most of it goes to for-profit colleges that are publicly owned, and their shareholders on the stock exchange get all this money. And about 2/3 of the kids that go there drop out without any degree, and sometimes they borrowed some of their own money. And you know why? Here's something, a little fact that people don't know, Bill. We have a provision in law under this provision that says that under benefits for schools for federal loans and federal help. It's called the 90-10 rule. Only 90% of the funds that go to a school can only come from the government.
Yeah.
10% must come from the individual. But that doesn't include military money.
Oh, yeah.
So what they're doing is they go after a GI. So for every GI they get signed up, they can go out and sign up 9 more non-GIs. It is a scam to beat all scams.
Yeah.
Now, Corinthian College is now going bankrupt. They're going under. They made $186 million in the last 2 years just from taxpayers. Now the GIs are out. They've got other debts that they've got to pay, and all the shareholders and the people that run the Corinthian, they're going to get off scot-free.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why they should get 1 penny of public. I mean, if these are for-profit colleges, they shouldn't get a penny.
Well, they say for-profit.
It's
It's taxpayer-funded colleges is what they are. Those for-profit.
Yeah. You have exposed this scam. Now, I can't let you go without asking you, first of all, are you still going to have your steak fry?
Yeah, this year. Yeah,
okay.
September 14th, the biggest and the last.
The biggest and the last.
Yeah,
September 14th.
That's right.
Damn it, I want to go to that.
And it's right south of Des Moines. I guarantee you it will be a big one.
All right, okay. I'm going to be there.
You got to be there.
Now, how's Bruce Braley doing? Are we going to have a good progressive step up in your shoes?
Absolutely. Bruce is doing fine. This person he's running against has gotten a lot of publicity because she castrates pigs.
That's what we need in the United States Senate, right?
And she rides a motorcycle and shoots a pistol at a target called Obamacare. Anyway, one of those things. So she kind of got up. She's a state senator from out in a very conservative rural area of Iowa. But Bruce is doing well. It's going to be a tough race. Look, Bill, Iowa's a very close state, as you know.
Yep.
I've always had tough races. I've had close races. But I'm telling you, Bruce Braley's progressive agenda and his record here in the House of Representatives will come through in the end. I have no doubt about it. It'll be a close race. I predict 52-48 for Bruce Braley.
Right. But, you know, even in that state, which is you can't take Iowa for granted in terms of as a Democrat or liberal, you've done well, Senator, because people know where you stand, and they know you're a fighter. They know what you believe in, and you're true to you've always been true to your principles. And I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for all of us across the country.
Well, you're nice to say. I've often said that Iowa's a pretty conservative state, and you know what they want to conserve most of all are the liberal traditions that the progressives have brought to our country.
Oh, God love it. Okay. Thanks, Senator Harkin. Great to see you.
Bill,
thank you so much for gracing us with your time this morning.
Thank you for what you do in getting the progressive word out across America. It's just wonderful. Keep up your great work.
Thank you. We make a great team.
No, you're good. I love you, Bill Press.
Right. See ya. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, all right, 27 minutes now after the hour on a Wednesday, July 30. Seriously, you know, Tom Harkin, I hope they have a statue to him in the Washington Mall someday. I mean, he's been a great United States Senator and a great fighter and just never gives up, right? Has never given up on all the important causes, and he has accomplished a lot. And again, you know, he's a liberal, not coming from Massachusetts, right, where it's easy, or New York or California, from Iowa, and look at what he's done.
I was going to say, sitting here and listening to him and watching him, right, as you were talking about his career as a politician winding down, and this is sort of the end of the road for him as a public servant, he still takes no crap.
No,
not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. And there are a lot. I mean, you know, there's the meme of the wishy-washy liberal or limp-wristed liberal. Not Tom Harkin, man. He's nails. I like hearing him.
And you know, we need more like him. And I love the fact that, as I mentioned, I remember, pardon me, on the minimum wage, where here he is, leading Democrat in the House, head of the Senate Labor and Education Committee, and when President Obama said in the State of the Union, we're going to do the great thing, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $9.25 an hour or something like that. And then Tom Harkin's reaction was, are you kidding me? You can't get away with that. That's not enough. That means people still live in poverty. So he said we got to raise it to at least $10.10, and the president did it. That's the kind of fighter we need. We need more Tom Harkins in the United States Senate. Bruce Braley will be the best.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour here on a Wednesday, July 30. It is the Bill Press Show, and we are brought to you today by the National Education Association, our great teachers of America. Good men and women of the NEA under President Lily Escalon, making a difference in the classrooms of America every day. You bet. And you can find out more about their good work at their website, nea.org. Jenn Bendery from Huffington Post will be joining us just a couple of minutes here on the show. One of the things we definitely want to talk to her about is all the noise today here in our nation's capital. We've been talking a lot about today on impeachment. It coming with, starting with John Boehner yesterday, who tells reporters, basically, stop asking me about impeachment because we didn't start all this stuff. It started with the White House. Here's John Boehner.
It's all a scam started by Democrats at the White House.
Yes, he says, started by the White House, and he said, John Boehner, again, this is what it's all about. This is why the Democrats are doing this.
This whole talk about impeachment is coming from the president's own staff and coming from Democrats on Capitol Hill. Why? Because they're trying to rally their people to give money and to show up in this year's election. We have no plans to impeach the president.
No, he just wants to sue him instead. But wait a minute. John Boehner, not so fast, John Boehner. This whole thing is started by the Democrats. Well, it is true the Democrats are using all the talk about impeachment to raise money, and doing so very, very successfully, if you please. $2.1 million just over the weekend. $1 million the DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, raised just on Monday. 74,000 new donors, brand new donors they picked up over the weekend. It is true. But why are they able to raise money on impeachment? Because Republicans won't stop talking about it, and they've been doing so for a long time. I was on MSNBC with the Reverend Al Sharpton last night, Politics Nation, and I didn't realize this, but here's how early on right-wing talk radio the talk about impeaching President Obama began. Well, I'll take you back, ladies and gentlemen, to February 4, 2009. Now, President Obama is sworn in on January 20 or 21. So count it up. This is less than 3 weeks after he takes the oath of office. Right-wing talker Michael Savage.
Impeach Obama now. Stop him before he kills this country. That's my opinion. Get out the bumper stickers, put them on your cars, and get the liberals riled up. Get in their faces, scream in their faces, don't take their garbage because you're losing this country. In less than 3 weeks, he's passed 5 or 6 executive orders. He's made nice to killers at Gitmo. He's granted them rights they're not entitled to. Now today he slaps us in the face with a children's health care bill.
Yeah, I mean, so already then they were talking about it. And thanks to leader Harry Reid yesterday, who put out a list of the Republicans. Of course, Sarah Palin, former vice presidential candidate, we remember, as crazy as she is. But Senator Reid, Leader Reid, put out a list of Republicans in the Senate and in the House who have called for impeachment. In the Senate, they include Senator Inhofe, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Tom Coburn, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Ted Scott, Republican senators who have called for impeaching President Obama, and also in the House, members of the House, Republicans Jack Kingston, Steve King, Steve Stockman, Bill Flores, Paul Brown, Ted Yoho, Michael Burgess, Carrie Bentivolio, Lou Barletta, Congressman Louis Gohmert, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, Congressman Randy Weber. I mean, that's a couple of dozen Republican members of the House and a half a dozen Republican members of the Senate. So, again, if Democrats are able to raise any money on impeachment, it's because Republicans are talking about it. And it seems to me if Republicans want Democrats to stop raising money on impeachment, then they ought to just shut up and stop talking about it. Jenn Bendery, I feel sorry for her sometimes because, we can follow these issues from a distance, but she's got to be there every day putting up with this crap. She joins us this morning to talk about it. Hi, Jenn. How are you?
That's quite an introduction.
Nice to see you.
Taker, I'm here.
You go to the House every day and the Senate every day, so we don't have to.
That's right.
That's what it is.
For the American people.
So were you there for Boehner's news conference yesterday? Or you certainly followed, covered it.
I was watching it. I was on the Hill, but I wasn't in it.
Yeah, right. I mean, but this idea of saying all the impeachment talk started at the White House, does anybody believe that?
No. That's absurd. I mean, I think you were just listing off people maybe who have said it before.
Yeah,
I mean, there are countless Republicans who have been throwing around the idea of impeachment for weeks, if not months, if not years. I mean, this is just it's the next logical step in the mindset that is governing them. I mean, they're already suing him.
Right.
So separately, there's like a lawsuit against him. So why not talk about impeachment too? And then P.S., there was also a hearing yesterday where a committee voted to condemn the president for the Bo Bergdahl prisoner swap.
Oh my God!
I mean, it was like an official resolution. I mean, it's a non-binding resolution, but still, it's like they took time in their last week before they're gone for a month and a half to have a whole committee hearing on a resolution and vote to condemn the president on rescuing a prisoner of war.
This
is all in the same week. This is what they're choosing to do in their last week.
Right. Something I learned just this morning, I was reading about this. I didn't realize this was even out there. Here it is. To show you how much gridlock there is and how it's impossible to get anything, even the most maybe non-controversial things done. There is actually a resolution, like I guess a non-binding resolution, to congratulate the Pope on his election last year.
Really?
Right? Yes. That is stuck in the House. It was referred to the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and they will not bring it up for a vote. It's sponsored by John Larson, Democrat from Connecticut, and Peter King, Republican from New York, and they can't get a hearing in the House Foreign Relations Committee on a resolution to congratulate Pope Francis. Now,
I have more questions than I had before. I mean, why is this even in a committee? Wouldn't that just go straight to the floor?
Boehner sent it to committee. That's what. So that's
and then why are they having a resolution for something that happened a year ago? Why is that happening
because
now?
they introduced it a year ago. It's been sitting there for a year.
And what's the reason? Is it because the Pope is too liberal now or something?
I don't know. I don't know. But it shows you just the impossibility to get anything done. So given that, what are the chances of getting anything done on immigration before they leave tomorrow?
I think they're leaving Friday, aren't they?
I was told
technically it's one more day, but still, that's a world of something on Capitol Hill in the last week before the recess.
I talked to a couple of members from, at a reception last night, a couple of members from California who told me they had tickets Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
Airline tickets back to California.
Regardless of whether or not that's before Congress is done.
Yeah, right. So they're assuming that that's when they're going to break. They've been told that's when they're going to break. Yeah.
So by immigration, I assume you mean the border supplemental bill? Or obviously immigration reform is not going to happen in the next day.
Let's make that point. The comprehensive immigration reform is definitely not going to happen.
Even though Harry Reid is saying he wants to attach it to the border supplemental bill, which is blowing up the whole process.
So the only possibility might be some temporary relief to deal with this humanitarian crisis at the border.
That is one of the three things being focused on in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
It's called the border supplemental bill. It's emergency spending for the border crisis.
Mm-hmm.
The president wanted $3.7 billion to deal with this for an extended period of time. House Republicans only agreed to $659 million, which is like 1/5 of the amount. And that would only go through the end of September. And they also added in some additional policy provisions, which are more or less poison pills for some Democrats in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we are. Something has to pass.
Have they voted on that yet?
No, they just yesterday they just unveiled it.
Okay.
They just announced
so that would be
details.
their proposal. This is say what we're willing to do.
And it's starting in the House. So that's what they're saying. This is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will they? It sounds like they will pass this $659 million proposal with no Democratic support
today,
and possibly some Republican defectors. Probably today. I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe it's tomorrow morning. And then send it to the Senate, which then they will move to the side and probably, I'm guessing, introduce their own, which could at this point have the same funding level, which is small, but still $659 million
or it
for the
could
next
be
month.
up to I've seen figures of $1.5 billion or $2 billion.
It could be a bit more. But then Harry Reid has said he also wants to try to attach this to comprehensive immigration reform, which is clearly a huge wrench thrown into this. I suspect what will happen, I'm just guessing, but based on how these things go at the very last minute when they like to do this back and forth, I'm guessing they'll pass something that's a clean, whether it's $659 million, maybe $1.2 billion, something like that, with no policy provisions in it.
Right.
And
so
just in the end, just funding for like a month or two. That's my guess at this point.
Which has become kind of a classic way that Congress deals with the problem is do something small that only lasts a few months. Just like the Highway Trust Fund.
Right. They just decided last night they're going to shrink the window on how long they're going to do that one for. So that's what they're really good at.
Okay.
Really short-term, last-minute bills.
I heard you mention, Jenn Bendery's with us here from Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. You mentioned there were three things you were focusing on. That is one. I want to find out the other two and what the prospects are when we come back. Your questions, your comments, welcome at 866-55-PRESS. It's Wednesday, July 30.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour with a day and a half or maybe 2 days and a half before the Congress is supposed to leave town for 5 weeks. Jenn Bendery is here, bringing us up to date on the events of this final week and what any prospects for any progress on any issue. I guess before I ask you the question about what's left, is there a chance that they could delay their vacation?
Seriously?
Yeah, that's the reaction I had.
Okay.
People are treating it like it's serious.
Well, every day at the briefing this week, some reporter asked Josh Earnest whether the president is going to ask Congress to stay here in town. Now, my answer is, first of all, if Obama asked for it, they certainly would not do it. But on their own, there's not a prayer, right?
You know, there's a thought that the most important thing to a member of Congress is getting reelected, no matter what. That is their number one priority. I would wager that leaving town ahead of a month and a half recess every year is a close second.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like trumping policy fights that they care about passionately.
Right.
It's in this order: getting reelected, leaving on time for the August recess, and then number 3 is pick an issue, and then they'll fight for it.
Yeah, okay,
you don't mess with their vacation. They want to go home.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think they'll delay it.
Okay, so they got this. They have until Friday. So you mentioned they're fighting on. There are 3 things they're working on. We better move fast here. One is the border. We talked about that. What are the other 2?
So you touched on one of them too. The highway funding bill.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get some money in there fast because states are literally going to run out of money.
I thought they already passed that through May. No, of 2015.
So last night, it's not passed. I mean, that's being hit back and forth. But last night there was a Senate action taken to shrink that to December.
Oh yeah.
In the Senate, this happened last night.
Oh.
So it's looking like it's maybe something's happened since then I don't know about, but it looks like they're shrinking the time frame even more.
God forbid that they should go all the way to May 2015, right? No. We'll shrink
and this
it
has to go back to the House, and it's still ping-ponging. But right now it's looking like if that's what the Senate's doing, then that's probably what we're doing.
All right. So we have border, we have a highway trust fund, and the third
is the VA funding bill,
which looks maybe the most positive of all.
Yes. Well, that's certainly the one that optically people want to be most associated with, helping the veterans. So members of Congress are scrambling to say, we're going to do the right thing by our veterans. And they do have a deal by Bernie Sanders, prominent Senate Democrat, and then Miller, is that his name?
Jeff Miller.
Jeff Miller, Republican in the House. So if they agree on it, that's a great sign. So all they have to do now is essentially take it up, pass it, and get it done before we leave.
Right, and President Obama's bound to sign that. It's $17 billion to fix the problem. We now have Mr. Robert McDonald, I think his first name is the new head of the VA, confirmed yesterday. So it looks like it's been a while, but this is getting on track, and this may be the one thing they're able to accomplish.
I think they'll pass the. If anything, it will be the VA bill. I think they'll pass that before they go. The border bill, I think they'll pass it. It'll just take a lot of fighting. Mm-hmm. And the transportation, the highway bill, maybe I'm just an optimist, but I think they could get all three done in some form. It's just going to take a lot of dramatic speeches about how wrong the other side is.
And finally, I don't think we've seen you since you were in talking trash about the softball game.
That's right.
But I did see Congresswoman Donna Edwards a couple of days ago, and she was still gloating.
Yeah, of course she was. They stretch out the gloating period for quite a while. Come on, it's been a few years. They need something, man.
You mean it's the first time they won in a few years?
They haven't won in a while.
I see. Well, it's nice of you to let them win this year, but
they needed a win.
They did.
Got to keep up morale.
Okay. And
in all honesty, they outplayed us. They were on their game, and we just were not. Okay. It was evident the whole way through.
But next year?
Oh, we'll win.
Okay. I'm sure Donna will be glad to hear that. And that the bad news babes are coming back.
That's right.
Okay. No better news babe. No better news babe than Jenn Bendery. Thanks for coming in. How do you like that alliteration?
Anytime.
All right. So thanks, Jenn.
Anytime.
And enjoy your 5-week vacation.
I will be on vacation, but I'll appreciate that somebody will.
And we'll be right back with today's Party Shop.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
And just a final word about John Boehner's ridiculous claim that it's Democrats, not Republicans, who started the talk on impeachment, which is really, laugh out loud, funny and ridiculous. Yeah, Boehner may not himself be for impeachment, but a whole host of Republicans have been, starting with Sarah Palin and a half a dozen members of the Senate and over a couple of dozen Republican members of the House, including Steve Scalise, the third most powerful Republican in the House, who's refused to take impeachment off the table. And as I said earlier, there is only one way for Republicans to stop Democrats from raising money over impeachment, and that is for Republicans to stop talking about it. Then any money for the Democrats will dry up. Get impeachment off the table. John Boehner ought to tell his fellow Republicans to shut up. That's it for today, folks. Have a great Wednesday. Come on back and see us again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.